Ich schalte mich das stumm, Franziska.
Ja.
Genau, dann kann es losgehen, oder? Also jetzt ist der Stream auch live.
Wunderbar. So. Ziehen wir mal den Hoodie aus. Gut. Hallo, herzlich willkommen. English, of course. Hello and welcome to the third streaming session of Exchange Reality. Unfortunately, it's already our last day. Time flies by. We had a very cool hackathon in the last few days and very interesting sessions in the midday. And this time the session's theme is XR for theater and animation. So be prepared for some fancy art projects. And we will start first with a project called Wearable Theater, Immersive Storytelling and Theatrical VR. This is led by Markus Wintersberger. He's also professor and deputy academic director at the Master Digital Design in the Department of Media and Digital Technologies, and also project lead of the FFG Coin project Wearable Theater. With him is the group of Wearable Theater and also part of the research group Media Creation, Thomas Wagensommerer, Georg Vogt, Ulrich Kühn, Christian Munk, and Julia Püringer. And the other side of the Wearable Theater project are Markus Josef Weiß and Colleen Ray Holmes, which are from the Open Acting Academy in Vienna. And as I said before, the topic of this talk is a kind of a artistic review or artistic impression of the project Wearable Theater Immersive Storytelling in Theatrical VR. And let's say hello and welcome. And let's start with the first presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Franziska, for the invitation. Also to Thomas and to Silvia for the organization of this Zoom panel here. We try to give an insight into our project Wearable Theater, which we produced from 2017 till now. We are now in the end phase of our project, and this is the best point. To show you something we found and we explored and we tried to find with the speech of art and with the possibilities of art to transfer a bridge or to build a bridge between theater, media art, experimental media. And it was a great journey for us the last 3 years to work together in this great group. And now I want to start with the first video because we want to show you our project as a art piece, not in a form of a conventional talk, maybe more as a theater piece. So that is also a part of our whole process to use every moment and think about which possibilities are in this moment of transferring something of reality into art or virtual reality. Okay, Georg, please start the first video. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll also post the link to the video in the chat, so anybody that has kind of a glitchy internet connection might watch it from there too, and I'll start the first video right away.
Yeah, we don't see or hear anything yet.
You don't see or hear anything yet? That's interesting.
You have to share your screen.
Yeah, I see that I shared it here as we tested it. That's weird. I restarted it. One moment.
It's not yet shared. Yeah.
It's not yet shared. Okay. Let me just unshare and reshare here with the button.
Ja, Bildschirm freigeben.
Yeah, I've got it. So here's Bildschirm freigeben. I choose the right screen again.
Yeah.
You see it now? Okay.
Fine, yeah.
What we will present today is the outcome of recently conducted research and may influence the outlook on future art-based research projects. The given circumstances provide the perfect opportunity to address key issues of what art-based research is about, and where its benefits lie in general. The project we present, and which is also presented in a different form in our paper, is Wearable Theatre, the Art of Immersive Storytelling. Over 3 years the team has conducted a series of experiments to find out how VR technology might expand, or provide new perspectives to engage, elucidate, explain, interpret classical texts. Dramatic texts provide the foundations of theatrical experience, and it is only through their staging and performance that the complete aesthetic experience is accomplished. The core hypothesis of the Wearable Theatre project is that VR and its immersive qualities can achieve the same effect in relation to specific epic literary material. For our experimental purposes we chose works of Dostoevsky, Camus and Friss. The dialectic between the viewer's inner stage and the producible stages, rooms and spatial and temporal configurations within and beyond the VR headsets was the fulcrum around which the project was able to unfold in a number of experiments. In their recent manifesto on art-based research, Sylvia Henke and her colleagues lucidly point to the benefits of art-based research. The crucial point is not making art or conducting research around artistic practice, employing elements of grounded theory or the quantitative or qualitative approaches of science. All those can play a role. The overall benefit of art-based research, however, is its focus on the aesthetic dimension of a content. Realization recognition. Here, it has its own form, where it is neither science nor art, but provides its own means of reflecting. In a program like Peak, which is mainly about advancing art, these reflections also, for the most part, concern artistic practices, yet, and this is our point here, it's not about advancing art through science, nor is it about producing art. It is about the knowledge that this specific form of thinking has to offer. Since approximately 500 BC, theatre has been a culturally defined event. A practice of watching and engaging techniques, of layers and masks, of speech that comes from the actors or from elsewhere, all entangled in the theatrical moment of co-presence. Of audience and performers coexisting, and learning something about their place. This is, in short, also the political dimension art possesses. An immediate engagement that cannot be fully depicted or reproduced in, or translated into textual discourse. Yet, it is not mysticism. It's an epistemological form that can be explored and, in the case of our project, has been explored by us, by experimenting with the variables at hand. Most prominent amongst these, the shift in space and time, and the differing aspects of co-presence and what they might be. The shift in presence, space and time is not only apparent in the experiments, it is forced on us these days, where on all our channels aesthetic fragments can be found which have emerged from different experimental circumstances, from singular proceedings that are now gone. Yet, their fragments have been reintegrated as foundations and built upon, not merely as staging ideas, but as actual videos, sounds, meshes and recordings. All of these have been disseminated into social media, as fragile knowledge readily available and reintegratable. By being recorded or streamed and entering the different contexts of, say, social media, the elements already have become parts of a very different narration. Not merely representing the lost deed, but encouraging a new engagement. Furthermore, by uncoupling voice and movement from the physical body, questions on agency, instrumentality and affinity belonging can be explored. We have stored some of these elements in a navigable archive, where they can be experienced in different relationships, in a specific autonomy. Right now, however, present in a cinematic form.
Georg, wir haben keinen Sound.
Genau. Also wenn Ton geplant ist, dann muss man den auch mit freigeben.
Georg, we can't hear you. Georg?
Doesn't hear us.
Mm.
Okay, any support needed? I don't know.
Georg,
can you hear me now?
do you hear? Yes, now, yeah. Mhm.
Georg, wir hören den Sound nicht.
Georg, are you here? Wo bist du? Where are you? Georg?
No, also ich sehe ihn jetzt gar nicht mehr. I don't
Oh
see
je.
Georg. And obviously he's more or less gone. Fallen out.
Can anyone else play the video?
Now he's back in the in the audience, so please put
Okay.
him on the podium again.
Okay.
Just a second.
So we are very sorry for that. Normally, since yet everything gone after plan, maybe we were too comfortable. Georg, bist du wieder da? Are you back here?
Hello.
He's back. He's back.
Okay, Georg, we didn't hear your sound of the video.
Mhm.
So something is, maybe Markus, you can tell us a little bit more about the project in the meantime.
Markus, please, maybe you can tell a little bit from your perspective, from the theater perspective, or from the perspective of literature and all these aspects.
Yeah, it was a main point of the whole project was that we just tried to use this new kind of technology to observe in the theater and just look to create new data. So new data for the audience. How can we experience some kind of theatrical forms, but also new data for the actors, for the environment. So how can it be, as you see in the background for me, it was done in the Volkstheater in Vienna, where we played the same time on the stage, on the lower stage and on the main stage, and the audience was connected with both spaces, and so we tried to tell a story about that, to tell a story about synchronicity, and also led by the question, how can theater raise the awareness of the audience, but also of the actors, and also, of course, for the technicians which are working around the stage. So it was a very interdisciplinary work, and I think the premiere was about 1 year ago, and from there on, with this material, we produced a VR montage, which we presented in the festival in Warsaw, from the festival called New Forms of Theater, where you can see from Georg in the background, where we just were creating some new kind. So there was a kind of installation going on there, where some audience members saw the Volkstheater Vienna in the glasses, and together with a Polish actress, someone saw it on the screen, how they moved. So we were in Warsaw and as well as in the Volkstheater in Vienna. So it was kind of in Warsaw as in a synchron way, kind of theater installation, but also theater play. So it was a connection of this one. So the whole 3 years we were searching and observing the questions, which we can summarize in how can theater create new data with the implementation and with the use of VR technology in a very broad sense. So are we ready yet?
No, I think Georg still cannot hear us.
Oh, I can hear you now. It seems like my complete audio equipment freezed up when I tried to share the audio channel, so that didn't happen during rehearsal, sorry. But it seems like I can't switch so you can hear it, unless my system freezes up for whatever reason. I tried to post.
Ja, hast du links unten den richtigen Sound-Channel eingestellt beim Mikro?
That's what I tried, and then I kind of crashed. So I tried to send it through the computer system instead of my Bluetooth headset.
Okay. Shall David share the screen? Do you have the?
I can post the YouTube link again. We can share that.
Yes, and I can share.
I tried to do that, but
yeah, but you can send me the YouTube link and I can share if you like.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat if you like for the second video.
That's good. That's
wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, that happens sometimes.
Here we go.
Welcome to live.
No, it's not the webinar. I just sounded.
No, you didn't sound.
Yeah, I need back to the chat. Where is it?
Okay. So while you figure out, maybe we can ask some questions. So
Here it is.
it's a very big team. Maybe you could tell what was the role of the different team members.
The big team is, I think, not so big because there was a lot of work to do, and we tried to find also the best position for everyone in the team. Markus and Colleen are for sure from the theater field, from the film regie field, so they are also where possible, or where the responsible for the working with actors, finding some literature sequences where we can cope with, or what could be in combination with technique and point to think about. Therefore, maybe also can Markus again tell a little bit about the literature pieces we tried to fix or find, and also we tried to find some special points also in this literature.
Okay.
So please, Markus, maybe.
Yeah, I heard the video is now ready, so maybe we will do that first to see a glimpse of your presentation at least, if that's all right from you, David. Yes.
Performative space, text, light and scenographic elements are in the process of being deconstructed and redefined according to the nature and possibilities of new media, specifically immersive extended virtual reality technology. Immersive XR theater implies the reconjoining of the world of the drama and that of the spectator. The melding of the entities of spectator and performer, auditorium and stage, enables an alternative option allowing the spectator to be essentially a part of the dramatic narrative, navigating through the fabric of the XR drama and by his/her choices experiencing the event individually and uniquely. The theater as we see it traditionally is a place of multiple orientation. The spaces we see and those of which we are aware and do not see. XR technology affords ways of presenting and extending time and space which transcend and escape the conventions of the physical stage, the confines of a defined theatrical location and the limitations of linear narrative. The potentially infinite dimensions of cyberspace can be accessed in relation to, and in opposition to the defined physical space. Spaces within the space, unfolding around and within each other can host scenery, performers, and all the elements and aesthetic options comprising XR scenography. Expanded space establishes different perspectives for the participants by manipulating their points of view or sense of situatedness. The perception of space has been defined as a triadic model. The dimensional, the actual spatial reality of the individual, the representational, that which is described or represented in models or drawings, and the experiential, which is entirely personal to the individual, whereby the action of drama takes place in representational space. In XR, the artistic elements combine and interact in experiential space, enabling ongoing processes of worlding to operate through discrete acts or sensory and narrative inference which include haptic and acoustic proxemics and pre-existing orders of knowledge. The crafting, configuration and navigation of space, place orientation and levels of sensory input in relation to the performance event incorporates not only the environment of the protagonist but also that of the visitor. Both participants become interactive, vital aspects of the scenographic concept, inhabiting the spatial imaginary. 1. The XR drama with its malleable and unpredictable suspension of situatedness and atypical interrelationships transcending spatial, positional and experiential boundaries, is an entirely personal, individual, and unique experience, the foundation for a new level of theatrical artistry, the imaginary which fills the empty spaces of thought. 2. 2.4 Open dissemination. The aesthetic phenomena created during the project are not limited to the VR sequences available as 360 degrees video. All the steps in the research process have been thoroughly documented, providing a vast repository of aesthetic representations, artifacts, and interventions. Next to the open access live streams, which exist as recordings on the project's YouTube channel. An immense number of photos, videos, 3D scans, photogrammetric images, and other digital media artifacts has been created and uploaded to public repositories and social networks such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Sketchfab. One of the last steps in the project has been the creation of a digital project archive, which, true to the nature of the project, invites users to navigate the findings and experimental material gathered by the researchers. 3 outcomes, what remains to be seen. The Wearable Theater project has managed to explore the qualities of VR in the above-mentioned settings. All the parameters and variables defined in the proposal have been researched. Beside the concepts and stage works outlined above, the project produced a vast number of artifacts. By rearranging and sharing them, it has become very apparent that these are an essential part of the project's outcome. Not only as documentation of the process or mediatized artifacts of performative acts, but as actual aesthetic knowledge derived from the project itself. In addition to the use of established platforms, the team has also created the first prototype of a virtual archive in which all artifacts are arranged and can be navigated. 3.1 Living Archive and Toolkit to document the artifacts that were produced in the course of the project and to preserve their live and real-time capability. An online application that provides background information and invites the user to select her/his own way in terms of the use of space and progression has been created to facilitate the possibility to interact with real-time settings. The user can rest in a setting while it keeps evolving around her/him. Additionally, the user can navigate in every direction, front W, back S, left A, right D, up E, down Q, and rotate his/her virtual head, mouse click and drag. Special areas of context can be found in each setting. These areas hold objects, digital fragments, texts, sounds, videos, images focused on certain common themes, events, periods of research, installations, performances, etc. The areas are arranged to overlap, so that they interact with each other, overriding and multiplying, but always based upon the perspective chosen by the user. The settings also contain elements of real surroundings evolving in real time, that change quite radically over time. Thus, if the user decides to let the application run for some time, the artifacts and areas will grow like a virtual garden. 3.1.1 An interactive museum. This application can be considered a virtual, interactive museum. The user strolls through the settings and inspects the artifacts, their background information, and the evolving space itself. The user may decide to change the settings when arriving at certain trigger points, enabling the transportation to another, new setting, and context. These settings can be considered as levels, when choosing a game-based approach, or floors, when choosing a museum reference. This virtual museum applies the approach of a so-called walking simulator. Genre of video games, which leads the user in a first-person perspective through an environment of new information, insight, and increasing knowledge, but also adds an overlap of environment and information to intensify and validate the overall experience, both on a perceptual and rational level. 3.1.2 A toolbox, Outlook. As with every museum which has a basement, depot, rear chamber, etc., this application also contains special settings that hold concrete, practical data which the user may download and keep. It is in these areas that most of the actual archiving is done, and this archive should be kept fully accessible without restrictions. Data such as point clouds, models, videos, images, papers, evaluations, figures, can be stored in the archive and accessed via application. This application prompts the user to find and use these areas in an open source and creative way. The user may implement the data in her/his own body of work and thereby create an expanding universe of virtual, but theatrical experimentation that reflects on itself. To ensure broad accessibility, this application is produced as a WebGL project, to be hosted via HTML5 in common browsers via the web. All the accessible data is stored in common formats, such as star.obj, star.fbx, star.ply, star.text, star.jpg. Figure 1. Approaching the museum in virtual space. Figure 2. Inside the archive. Recording of the Red Bar/Volkstheater Vienna. 3.1.3 Technical workflow to create the individual settings or levels/floors. 3D objects are generated throughout the project in a photogrammetric workflow within 3ds Zephyr Light. That allows up to 500 pictures, in this case mostly frames from a video, for the reconstruction of the objects. Dense point clouds and high-definition textures are also achieved in the process. These objects are then imported into the game engine Unity for further development. This application is hosted in the Universal Render Pipeline, URP, of Unity 2019.3 and upwards. The URP is a pre-built scriptable render pipeline that is optimized for a wide range of target platforms, from Windows and UWP, Mac and iOS, Android, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, WebGL to all current VR platforms. While this ensures a high flexibility in deploying, the main focus remains to target WebGL and for special cases Steam VR. Figure 3. 3D scan of the Führer bunker installation in the archive. In Unity, the objects are arranged, and procedural transformation, position and rotation are applied to generate an ongoing change of the spatial setting. Furthermore, the objects are edited with the use of custom-built shaders made in Unity's shader graph that allows a node-based creation of physically based shaders. This process enables the possibility to change the appearance and behavior of the object quite radically over time and based on the perspective of the user. This application is built for WebGL 2.0, which consists of control code written in JavaScript and shader code written in OpenGL ES3, ensuring the provision of complex, evolving settings even on low-standard devices. Figure 4. Navigating the artifacts in the archive. 1. Figure 5. Approaching a photogrammetry in the archive. For conclusion and outlook, not only the VR technology on which the project's practicalities hugely depended, but also the discussion on art-based research and its benefits has intensified in the past years. Venturing to different venues with the artifacts already created in previous steps proved extremely beneficial and informed what Lisa Ziemer has called creative collectivity. Creative collectivitat. 3. For Ziemer, the quality of such an unlikely assembly, unwahrscheinlich Versammlung, vivid, lies exactly in the cooperation of individuals that would not likely have cooperated in other settings. Wearable theater, due to its constant iterative production of performances and media artifacts, was able to not only incorporate people, but also its aesthetic artifacts into this assembly. Things such as concepts, recordings, fragments of code and interfaces that have already been created in the project form the basis of the next steps at a different venue. confronting not only the human protagonists of the project with a new setting, but also the things they brought along. In their Manifesto of Artistic Research HON PTAL. 4. Reaffirm the idea of a specific knowledge that can be derived from art-based research that is located beyond the dualism of theory and practice. In contrast to the discursive modes, the language of things for aesthetic artifacts operates quite differently. They think multimodally, compositionally, and in many media simultaneously. 4p. 39. Besides exploring and incorporating the artistic variables of a wearable theater, the project also created a new outlook on theater itself, as a mode of producing an aesthetic kind of knowledge. Aesthetic practices map out non-scientific epistemologies by drawing their form of knowledge not from syntheses but rather from the sensuous relations of non-predicative conjunctions in which their insights merge and coincide. Ibid. Theater, as the historical paradigm of production of such knowledge, seems to be the ideal site to explore the further possibilities and aspects of XR/extended reality.
So, what if we could pick up this red salon and put it on a real stage, as a projection, as a print, as a rebuild? What if the gestures explored on the stage in 2019 could be transferred to an avatar in 2021 that simultaneously exists on a virtual and a real stage? What if others could take from and contribute to this toolkit? Exploring the potential of XR theatre, our research will proceed in this direction, enabling the qualities of theatre to transcend the assigned space, yet retain their quality of being a singular experience or event produced in a specific moment of co-presence.
Okay.
So, this was our presentation, yeah? This was our idea of using the stage for trying to experiment also with these possibilities of zoom, of background, of foreground, of masking, of trying to get also a zeitgeist position also into this situation of now, here.
Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I think this is very unusual and very unique. Sorry for that the presentation did not work right away. It did last week when we tried it out, but something has changed maybe. I really liked also how you were incorporating your backgrounds into your presentation, so you could have a look to the ones who built those backgrounds and have like different views and windows. Maybe let's have a look if there is someone, if there's a question, an immediate question from the audience. It doesn't look like so. As we are a little bit behind, I would like to say thank you at this stage, and we'll go further to Frank Gessner. But if we have a little bit time afterwards, maybe we can have a group discussion about both projects. So let me introduce Frank Gessner. He's professor at the Film University Babelsberg Konrad Wolf. For a few years now, he's having like this very intense and project going on, Test a Lab, expanded animation worlds. It's always a work in progress. I've seen your work, Frank, already in various versions, also as a museum stage, in the museum stage, or in a very big space. And welcome, Frank, to our podium, and I'm very interested about your work and your presentation.
So, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I try to start my first virtual keynote, and so I hope it works. What I have to do now. So, okay. Welcome to the presentation of the artistic research project Test eLab and Guests. Because this is the fourth part of the season, I'd like to introduce the first part of the expanded cinema planet, alias Jiederbeck. This practical form of aesthetics is about the transfer of theory, which in Greek already etymologically implies viewing and contemplation, into the medium of the image, which can be realized only in the form of a dialectic between theory and practice, in the sense of a self-reflexive image with model character. Or as Jean-Luc Godard put it so marvelously in his Histoires du Cinéma, when he understands cinema or fine arts as a form of thinking, starting from the spatial in some kind of improvisation onto the general. Art, nature, and theory are understood as an inexhaustible reservoir of interaction models, not in competition with the representation methods, but in historic dialogue with it. This form of dialogue requires technology, technology understood here in the original sense of the term. Under the ancient Greek term techne, meaning ability, artistry, and craft, one understood the practical application of science to the production of goods. The original term techne not yet differentiates between today's categories of art and technology. It is about the unity of art and technology, about a formed practice which refers to both to the process to form as well as to the condition to be formed. Only in this sense, by the way, formation affects identity. Fine arts today is the theory and practice of the reinventing technology of art and nature study with all available tools. It is more than just technical practice because it understands craft with Richard Sennett as a fundamental human impulse to endeavor to do an activity well for its own sake. And for that, you have to understand your craft preciously because it's not longer natural. However, Western history, especially its intellectual history, has drawn a distinctive line between practice and theory, technique and expression, makers and users. Visual arts grounded on research-based practice and practice-based research can help to open to sublights is sometimes too narrow limits for discussion. The visualization of ideas is a topic of the exemplary artistic research project Elias Jederbeck, who is grounded on the painting cycle Test Sans Fin in original around 48 meters. We transform this material and its context in a 360-degree time-based media. The 2D painting thus becomes a 3D walk-in model installation and evokes an artificial built cosmos. Here, in a panoramic unrolling, the first sequence, entertainer. Technique, video, painting animation, 3D computer animation, compositing. The sequence entertainer starts arranged as on the dial on the number 1. Now you will see, because of the time, only 3 short excerpts of the project as virtual installation. Entertainer excerpt. Sequence Flaneur, Technique Super 8 16mm photography ICAM video compositing. The sequence Spectator, Technique video animated drawing compositing. Sequence Actor, Technique photomontage projection video compositing. Sequence Dissolution, Technique photography video compositing. sequence projection, technique Super 8 photography projection video compositing. Sequence Anima Techne, technique video 3D computer animation motion capture compositing. Sequence Transcendental Animation, technique 3D computer animation motion capture compositing. And out of this sequence, I want to show the second excerpt. And the sequence Happy End, technique is 35mm direct film animation compositing. And also out of this, from this sequence, the sequence number 9, I want to show you a 1-minute excerpt. Yes, a very emotional part of deconstruction from analog material, combined with digital compositing also. Sequence Doppelgänger, technique video compositing. Sequence Reminder, analog video, digital video projection compositing. Sequence The End, technique video compositing. And yes, and from this material, from this installation, real installation, we made in the context of 100 years film in Potsdam-Babelsberg, we made a DVD edition, and this edition was published in Paris by the experimental film label Revoir. A 16 minutes Elias Jederbeck documentation footage movie with all sequences you can find on the website testfoundation.org. So if you want to look at, please have a look. Elias Jederbeck can also submit as an e-installation via Telepresence technology, which is navigated by walking and looking. Together with the virtual reality headset and other tools, it generates the interface for a hybrid interactive museum with both a museum and more than a museum, the web-based expanded animation center in which the user becomes part of the work and the reality replaces the representation. So we start TestELAB. This is a work in progress. TestELAB and guests understands itself as a university research satellite and tries in an extended form to continue with a free laboratory principle in order to explore experimental material and media development for the latest expanded animation worlds. The TestELAB creates with its guests together something like, let's say, something like an expanded animation festival combining local and global aspects. In the confrontation with high and low culture in the wide context media history, the traditional media are transformed into a new digital arena. The Container Colosseum Circus, the stage of the whole project, divided in several areas, much like a memorial temple. On the right, the entrance hall, in the middle, the panoramic center, and on the left, the video lounge. The large 360-degree panorama of the viewer immersed in a dark, collective, spacious bathroom. The panorama, heterotopia par excellence, serves as a stage for testing conceptual intentions and media ideas. The notion of a total panorama to design a shaped world model is a secret utopia. It seems from the universality and flexibility of this medium as a sublime temptation of dissolutions of grandeur emerge. With 12 guests or collectives, the dozen-course panorama and full-dome menu will be developed on the 12 platforms over a variety of test series. The multi-perspectivity of the test lab requires that the actors with their different experiences and competences, artistic languages and nationalities work together in an interdisciplinary way. The test lab provides the practical space for free and unexpected experiences and insights. The starting point of the first test panorama sequence was a reimagining of Beckett's Quad, the sequence Quad Triangle. Quad is a television play by Samuel Beckett, written and first produced and broadcast in 1981. The work is described as a piece for 4 players, light and percussion, and has also been called a ballet for 4 people. I will show you only 1 minute. Our first guest is Valencia James. She is a Barbadian freelance performer, is interested in the mediation between dance, theater, technology, and activism.
With its belly full of black gold, who cares? It's just waiting to smother mankind in its sticky goodness.
He's really a great performer, and it's only an impression. And this is what we want to transformate into the virtual space. So it's really based on Samuel Beckett's Quad 1 and 2. We staged a playful version of the Dodecagon with a new motion capture system using 24 cameras. 3 squares for only 1 player were superimposed over each other so that there were a total of 12 angels. 10 actions were performed while traversing each square with the same rules of Beckett's Quad. Anti-clockwise direction along the edges, then again when avoiding the center while crossing the square on a diagonal. Kinetic Dialogues it's a demo also by Valencia James, and this is one reason why I want to work with her together, because she is working and learning with and from AI, and so it's an interesting interaction between human and machine, machine and human. our research for the starting and end action, so for Quad Triangle, was also a very important sequence from a great movie. And so there were, Liza Minnelli performed Mein Herr song in the wild Berlin 20s of the last century.
Beautiful young lady. You're so beautiful. I want you for my wife. And she said, your wife, what does she want to be? I give you the international sensation, Fräulein You have to understand the way I am. I'm here.
Yes, it's only an impression, and now there's a lot of brilliant data we made, and of course where we must work on. And showing you today only some documentation photos we made in this great studio in Studio Babelsberg. It's a big green screen studio with more than 1,000 square meters, and we constructed this installation as a virtual space with 20 meters on 20 meters. So first we start with walking, crawling, running, shuffling, falling forward, falling backwards again, Barbados land ship, dying swan and firebird, and of course homage to Liza Minnelli's cigarette dance, and so on and so off. And now we have, as I said, a lot of brilliant data, and we must go further. And of course, we need production money and want to create first and the last sequence for TestELAB. Sequence number 12, Quad Triangle. In this sense, we want to build together something like a synthetic generated planetary system as a set of 12 panoramic and VR sequences in total. And at the end, if you wanted to summarize the project again in one sentence, you could say it is an attempt to see the Earth from the studio together as a big team, and we want to make a big party and a big festival with a lot of interesting stuff. And the book Panorama Vision with this subtitle is, by the way, published by Revolver Verlag, Berlin 2018. So it's a lot about the first project I made, a big project I made, Elias Cederbeck, and now we work on the fourth part. And something other for looking forward, the masterclass Globe Playhouse Expanded Animation Worlds at the Film University Babelsberg, Konrad Wolf, Germany, can hopefully, because of the crisis, take place from 7th till 18th September 2020. If not, we want to try it in spring or summer 2021. Starting from Berlin and Babelsberg, the world-famous historical filming location of the movie Metropolis, and with Potsdam as creative city of film recently included in the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, a comprehensive artistic, technological, and scientific network of actors is to be established, in which the local is on the equal footing with the global. The masterclass is divided into a three-day symposium at the beginning and a 7-day experimental workshop with a final presentation. During the symposium, speakers from various disciplines will provide simultaneing through provoking impulses from joint exploration. The lecture will touch upon the following aspects: animation aesthetics in contemporary context, documentary film, experimental science fiction, hybrid art, analog and digital image concepts, perspective of neuroscience, gender as poetic construction, paradoxism of fiction and in relation to fact and fake. And of course, we want to work on prototypes and concept art for 360-degree VR, MR, and AR production stuff. And so if you're interested, you can find more information about the masterclass at the Film University website or on the Test Foundation website. So if someone is interested in the project, also in the content, please feel free to contact me, and I will send you complete Vimeo links from the movies. And if you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. So thank you very much for your attention. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Frank. Fortunately, it worked very well, the presentation, so well done. Thank you also for proposing this event in September. I think it fits perfectly to the exchange reality concept, where we also combine the symposium and the hackathon. So I can see that the symposium and also like this experimental week could be in the same spirit, let's say so. And I also think that the Verbal Theatre project and your art-based research, your projects have a lot in common. Let me just maybe grab two things. I thought, of course, it's like the VR technique, but also what I like is that Frank, you're also using like all kinds of references, literature, art, even mathematics and stuff. So I think this is also interesting in connection to the Verbal Theatre project, which is also like based on the mixed media approach, let's say it, and mixed arts approach. Maybe you can tell a little bit more about why you chose this kind of approach.
As you can see, my backstage, my context is a paper world and literature, poetry, classic art. So I study sculpture and painting and art history. And I was always interested, so how can I bring this things I love into movement, and how I can create a poetry virtual world, also with let's say with dust and dirty and with all the things we love, and how it can overlive the life, and how we can bring it, this kind of stuff into the virtual world. And I'm interested in this wild field of art, since that's the starting point of the universe, let's say. And okay, it's a wide field, and because of this, I also like very much the first presentation. Because I think this is the other end of my starting point, and I try to make really this, to open this wide field in the project Test Elab from the first paintings on walls, or to the future paintings in the virtual world. So and so it's a wide field. And so thank you also very much for the invitation, and also for the presentation of Markus and Christian and Georg. I like it very much. So this kind of deconstruction, and I'm very interested in your work, and also how it is connected with theater, because as you can see, I love also William Shakespeare. Globe Theatre. I think it's the biggest globe ever created, and it's also very interesting now for contemporary art. So, and to look to this kind of relations between yes, between a lot of worlds. So I'm very interested.
So if there are any questions, I'm not the only one who should ask questions. If there is a question at the podium, vice versa for the projects, please don't hesitate to do so. Also, from the viewers, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. We are a little bit over time, but we have a little bit of a break afterwards, so I think we will have another 5 minutes, should not be too bad. Okay, is there any question from the podium? No. So then I have another, maybe it's like for both projects, because what I heard a lot is the museum, the archive, how to find a new way of a presentation. And maybe we could kind of elaborate on this a little bit more. What should a new museum and a new archive look like in your opinion? Maybe this is a question to both projects.
From my side, it should look like what we are doing now, something like this, like first of all, finding some new solutions with these new technologies, improvising, having an empty space. It's better to have a full space, trying to fill the space with our imaginations and let something appear in this in-between world we are now exploring all together. And we are exploring now since 2 months more deeply than before, but this is I think the key for the next steps to imagine this and to focus also on this emptiness, on this unbelievable endless emptiness in which we are preparing and trying to learn and explore these new forms for saying something, for testing something, to have some possibilities, not to speak, more to speak as a new form of thinking about the combination of space and time and something like this, something totally science fiction or something totally crazy or something totally out of this world, not thinkable before maybe this big crisis we're in now. This would be the most important point for me, because I'm doing this maybe since long time now and trying to find myself in such a position. But this is my opinion or my vision, my hope, my big hope also for Europe.
Frank, what's your vision of like a perfect new archive museum with all this new fancy technology?
So I think the internet is the greatest space and in our world, and it's also a kind of world of imagination. But I think the problem is how we can connect reality with virtual reality. So this is my personal interest. And how we can work with this kind of knowledge, and this is the reason why I said this presentation, the title is Animating Knowledge. So how what we can do out this big data, what we can do out, is it possible, is it thinkable, and is it makeable to do something out of this great possibility? Because it's a dream. The romantic, they are dream about this kind of machines. We are sitting in front of these machines, and I think it's a great possibility, and it's also difficult to work with it, as we can see, because I'm sure we get something, for example, now in this situation, but also we lost something. Yeah, so we can't touch so everything. So we lost something. And for me, the reason is the idea is how we can learn more about life and media, and how we can connect it more. And I'm really looking forward to the next generation of machines. And it could be we don't need something like this. And we can say goodbye, and we can touch each other, and we can kiss us without to be ill. Huh? This could be interesting. But now we have to work with these machines. And I think it's a great possibility. And when I start to enter the virtual world, it's not so long ago, a little bit more than 20 years. I never thought that something we do now is possible. And I think there are a lot of other things are possible.
Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you, Markus, Christian, Georg, Julia, Colleen, Thomas, for your presentations, for this insight in a very artistic, experimental virtual world. Yeah, I think that's the end of this session, but not the end, of course, of the Exchange Reality. We will now have like a 20-minute break, and then please come back to this channel in Zoom, because in the last few days we had hackathon sessions where we also tried to find new solutions for museums, for libraries, and also for the world. We want to do something, to exchange something. And so come back at 5 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 3 o'clock to the hackathon sessions, because then there will be all the cool stuff we did in the last few days we presented. Afterwards, at 4:30, there will be a small party. And then at 5, there will be our last keynote by Peter Bell and Jacqueline Klusik-Eckert from the Time Machine Europe and V Erlangen. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
And I hope to see you in the next session.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
David and Alexandra, please stop YouTube.
We said we just put in the program.
Okay.
Just a moment. We leave it like this, we said.
Okay.
let's start. Alexandra, what do you think?
So for the first group, we have just Anne and Tamara here.
So hello, welcome. I hope everything is all right like this. And we are live on YouTube as well, as I see. Hello, my name is Silvia Petrovic-Meyer, and we are having now the presentations of the hackathon. Just to give you a brief overview of what happened, I will share my screen with you. You can see now, here we are. OpenGLAM is the network, and together we have this collaboration with the University of Applied Sciences. They did an amazing job for 3 sessions of conference, which gave a great input. Thank you for this kind of cooperation. And you see also our partners who made it possible that around 40 people could participate and hack, and had very intensive 3 intensive days of working on their projects. Thank you to the fundings and whatever we needed. So this is the final presentation of 6 groups. And that's what I show you what we have done. We had, a planning session. Amazing. The first day was important to connect the people and to put them in groups. And this was the planning session. It was quite intensive and it took longer than we thought, because virtually it's not so easy, or it's different, let's say, to the other format. So, and what came out was this. We organized ourselves around the campfire with a question, with many questions, but we came up to one question: what do you want to explore? And out of this, we developed 6 great encouraging teams. The untitled poster experience, the archival storytelling, the everyday life in XR. Then the group how to create an exhibition for artifacts without the physical space. The group here, and the visualization of the location history of the Neptunbrunnen in Nuremberg. We start with they're all here. So we start with sorry, XR in, so now they know they still need. So we start with how to create an exhibition for artifacts without the physical space. Is this possible?
Yeah, I think it's fine. Victor is already.
You must switch on your microphone. And
I
all of
did.
you, please.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Do you hear me, Silvia?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mario.
Oh, okay, great.
Are you ready, Mario?
I'm ready. Okay. Silvia, is it okay? So initially, we looked at a broader issue of how to improve a museum experience, a physical museum with extended reality, but quickly found this interesting case that is facing the Vienna City Library. They have a huge collection of posters of different eras and different genres, but they are lacking a dedicated exhibition space to show their artifacts. So this is the question we wanted to address, how to create an exhibition for an art for artifacts without a physical space. And we also wanted to focus on 2 key aspects. One is to create a social and shared experience like you would find in a museum or art gallery. The second one is to be open and accessible By this, we mean that everyone should be able to organize an exhibition and be a curator of work that they're interested in. And this can be in a public space, can be in private space, it can be an official event, or it can be also just guerrilla style somewhere in the city. So when we dig deeper in this issue, there were some do's and don'ts we defined, like, for example, not to recreate the existing online library that was already available and was mainly addressing experts and librarians, etc. And defined our audience more as movie enthusiasts or graphic designers. And as a scenario for a prototype, we defined to have the collection of movie posters of the 1960s and how those could be presented. And we also looked at defining target devices as just mobile phones to have this low tech barrier, and as an additional incentive also to have the opportunity to take your favorite poster with you and enjoy in your own home. Victor, would you like to continue?
Okay, so our solution was to design this app in which anyone could be a curator. So we called it Curator Me. And with this app, anyone could set up exhibitions anywhere or curated selections of those digital artifacts that we can find in the library. We can also take the exhibition or the selection home and, for instance, display those posters on the walls of our house or call people from a specific place in the city. And we can also just navigate it and find extra content related to other physical artifacts. For instance, metadata from those artifacts from the library, or related posters, related artists to that piece. So perhaps I can show you, can you see
yeah,
the prototype? So we have this high-level prototype in which once a person has the app installed, they could see their own created selections. And to create a new one, they just have to give a name. For instance, if we want to create a selection just with movie posters from the 60s, we could just add artifacts using the library collection. So I can make just a search for movie posters from between 60 and 70 and add the ones I would like to have in my list. And I can also see those artifacts that I selected and perhaps get a marker for them. So I generate a AR marker for each one of the artifacts I selected, and perhaps I can put it in my home or in some place, and anyone with a smartphone and the app could see it. Or perhaps I can set this anchor in the space without a marker and left it and save it on a server. I can also tag each one of my posters. And once this is done, I have a new curated selection here. And I can just run it and see on the walls of my house the posters that I selected, information about these posters, select information about different posters, see as well, explore the metadata, related people and institutions and everything related to the poster. And the social aspect of it is also to be able to search and find many other selections that are made public, perhaps linked to a space, perhaps running during the time. So here we have a live test in the Gartenbau Kino in Wien, in which we have the virtual posters hanging outside the kino, and you can see information about the poster and walk around and hang as many posters as you want.
Yeah, we thought it might be an interesting idea to use the Gartenbau Kino that is closed because of the current situation, but still work as a hub for movie enthusiasts and have as a exhibition space, a public one that is widely accessible.
So that's it. We wanted to design something to make it more democratic, so anyone could have access to these artifacts and be able to share them and explore them in a different way, perhaps getting to learn a little bit more as well about the library and the collection.
Okay, thank you. What about your colleagues? Do they want to add something? Like maybe about the collaboration, also the atmosphere, how it was going, the whole working process, or maybe also some goals? What is a kind of partnership you would wish for, or fundings, or I don't know, to continue with your project?
Yeah, maybe I add a sentence. It was much fun to work together because we were really quick, because at least it was not one day to do all of this that you already saw, only a few hours. And I think it has much potential to get a real app that is used, at least in Vienna.
We learned so much new kinds of tools together. I think it was great to work with all together and with the people, and maybe we can find similar projects. For example, there are at other universities projects with collecting pictures and to bring them online or in an app. So I think there could be a lot of possibilities to spread the network and to find other projects to work with.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had a problem with it. So I'm here again. Yes, fine. So anything else? Anybody else? Christina?
I can say that it was a lot of fun to work with this group of people. At the beginning, we were like, yeah, we want to do something with museums. And then, yeah, we got the poster collection. And in the end, I think we really made something, yeah, great. Let's say at the beginning, I didn't think that we would reach something like that, but I think that the app is really great. And yeah, I really enjoyed working with this group. And yeah.
Thank you very much. Just one quick question. Which present challenge could be tackled by your project? Is there any?
Well, as I've said, I think the Gartenbau Kino is an interesting showcase that you can use a place that right now does not have a function, but still has this, it's still a hub for moviegoers, and this might be an interesting showcase to use it as a museum, which is publicly and accessible and available, and can draw attention to this place.
So that keeps cinema alive.
Exactly.
When it's closed even. Okay. So thank you very much.
Can I add one more sentence, Silvia? Sorry, because we didn't mention that we also have this option for site-specific exhibitions. That's for, I think we didn't mention it enough. That's because we choose the Gartenbau Kino, that you have to move actually there to get the information and a view at the poster exhibition.
Okay, from outside.
Yeah, in this case from outside, but it could be any cinema or any other place where you have actually to move to see the exhibition.
Okay, so thank you very much to this group. So try to go back to. Okay, maybe the next group could be the. Is the archive of storytelling already complete? No.
I think we are.
So then go ahead.
All right. Hello.
Hello, Clemens. Do you want to continue?
Yes, we can, I think. Jacqueline and Georg, you're here, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
Screen share.
Okay. I will share my screen. I hope that works. Can you see that?
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
So we are the Archival Storytelling Group, and our subtitle is The Inherent Story of Kinderwagenkonvolut. We worked and we used the online collection of the Landessammlung Niederösterreich and started with an idea or just a fragment of an idea. How can we do the storytelling of an online collection which has a lot of data, a lot of knowledge, but the objects to itself aren't quite connected to each other. So we had different ways to get to know the database or the online collection. One was just by clicking around, just looking what is there. Another one was by concrete ideas like this is an object, maybe you can look at this, or this is an object we want to tell a story about. And the aim was, which was given by the museum, to connect the collection to the people, to the public, because they aren't using it, or the museum is afraid that they are not going to use it. So with different ways of get to know this online database, we tested, or we found this Kinderwagenkonvolut. It's a Kinderwagen full of several stuff, things we were asking ourselves, why is this in the collection? Why does somebody thought it is good to have it, or to give a number to it, to collect it for eternity? And this was the start, and we created from this object group several kind of stories. So we were inspired by the object, and the aim was to make the story out of the objects, try to figure out which kind of structures of storytelling can be used by telling stories of objects or biographies of objects. And we tried several approaches and compared them to another, analyzed it for a conclusion.
What you see here is also an attempt at data retrieval. So besides working with the individual objects and data sets, Alexander also retrieved more broad data from the database and kind of visualized it. You can see that in this frame. And he compiled a video of all the objects that were found for 2015 and statistics on how and where they were found. A topographical.
Georg, we don't hear you well.
You don't hear me?
We hear you, but it's not very.
It's not good. Well, my sound is broken today.
No, now it's off.
It's off? Okay.
I have also sound problems right now, so.
Better now? Or?
That's the effect of showing something.
I can hear you, Georg.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now it's working.
Yes.
It's very unstable at times for me too, but seems like it's individually different. So what I was trying to get to, I don't know how much you heard, but it was short note on Alexander can't be here at the moment. You retrieved more general data, so you can see topographical information, the data, all the data sets that were collected in 2015 in an overview. He made a short video, so kind of a narration or montage of all the artifacts and data sets. So that was another route we took. And yes, so here you can see where the data sets were located, where things were found, and so on. On the top, here's what material the data set, the data set of, yeah. And now we go on to the storytelling principles, and we were referencing Marie-Laure Ryan and her basic ideas of how things could generally be narrated, and we try to apply that to our object, or try to find what kind of narration were inherent in the kindergarten convolute. So what do the objects tell us? And this is the first approach. It's kind of a tree with branches. So you have a general line of narration, a kind of possibly chronological order, and then you can take side steps in terms of finding more context information, exploring kind of the first space something happened at. Maybe we can move on for the first example for this kind of storytelling. One more, Clemens, I think, to the, now we have them as an, okay, so we have all the narrative forms we found here in individual pages, but maybe we can move over to the concrete one, to the branch. So I think one more. Okay, so I just tell you briefly about the structure. So I already went the branch structure. Then we have the network structure that we also focused on, which would mean you can navigate the objects individually. So move from object to object and browse around without having any chronological or orderly restrictions. You can navigate this in several ways. Next one, please. Here you have, would you like to tell us about this one, Clemens?
Yes, that's a tree structure. So here we can see that we have different paths, and that's what's special about this structure, that a user can take a path and gets different results. It's about more interactivity and to give the user more choices.
Yeah. Also had some gamification models in mind, and that would be kind of one of the approaches here. So here is the example for the branched approach. You can see that we clustered it kind of based on the journey, the objects we had in this Kinderwagen took. So they came from a global, from a broad global variety of places, Vietnam, Serbia, Croatia, Budapest, and at some time they kind of intertwined with the humans that use them. And so we could kind of make an order by having them enter Europe, and then we have context, especially in the European countries. Can you move in a bit, Clemens? So you can see that, no, in the next one, where we can see the objects, exactly. So we could kind of take a look at what else would there be in, say, Budapest, where the people were, what entered the collection, what would the context be there? So we found, this is a bag of water, a champagne bowl from the 19th century, and some traveling notes of the former royalty of Austria, the Habsburgs, which kind of add up more or less random, but also interesting view on the archive itself. So these were one group of contexts that we could kind of branch off. What else is at that place, from the places in the collection? Then you can move along the narration to the next point of entry to the country, like Nickelsdorf. We found a lot of material that was referencing the space. Nickelsdorf were a big, where people entered the country. We can see here that we found several posters, and we found a dinosaur, respectively a crocodile, that kind of has a doppelganger or not, and that entered and left on narration on a very mystic basis. And then we move on to St. Pölten, where we have other contexts. A few back, you can see in the St. Pölten frame that we have found drawings of kids there that reference back to their home that were created in St. Pölten, and kind of advisory information for the people. So, okay.
Sorry, just to intervene. Did we tell what is the kindergarten convolute about anyway? Because otherwise it does not make so much sense.
Yes. In general, the kindergarten, as we found out, coming from one of the objects, was an assembly of objects that were found in Nickelsdorf or Dreiskirchen. It entailed a Kinderwagen, also a child's carriage that had several objects in them, and it was in the context of the migration movement for the 2015. So there was kind of a water flask, there was diapers, the crocodile, and several other objects of daily use. That was the Kinderwagen-Konvolut, and that was our point of departure. Good to note it, Franziska. And so we followed the way of the objects, and here you see the objects. Okay.
Yeah, also we also did this one approach to look at the objects and think about what story makes sense for them. But we also used an approach where we looked at the story structure, and then you can see here the network story structure, and then we put the objects inside the story, so more like a top-down approach. So this story here, we start with the objects. We don't have any connection between them. We ask ourselves what's happening here, and then we can go in the network structure. We can find out about the background of the objects, why they are connected, what is happening here, also about personal histories to make it also very emotional. That's also a big part of storytelling. And the last part is a social and historic context, to put it somewhere in a historic and social context. Yes, this is one of the stories that we came up with.
So back to our basic questions that kind of we had in the beginning. We asked ourselves, how can we connect people with the archival material? I think the storytelling approaches offer some options in that manner, how the archive could be related to the general public. And our general approach, in case it wasn't obvious anyway, we follow the form follows function approach mostly. So we want to use the techniques afterward, we know what to tell and apply them to kind of a general principle, instead of using the material in a given form and kind of manipulating it and to make it usable. Did I tell most things? Who's joining in?
Thank you.
Yes, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else from the group who wants to say something and to add something or to tell his or her connection to the team or whatever, how the workflow was?
Yes, I want to say something. I think the atmosphere was really good, and it was fun to work together. It was very interesting, and I hope that the Landessammlungen Niederösterreich realize one of these mini collections. Perhaps in a few weeks, you can see the mini collections on the online collection of Landessammlungen.
And I think in our case, it was more work than we expected. We were really busy because there were so many branches and sites we could go on. There was so much to explore, and we really dived into so things like Georg was trying to find the crocodile, and we went into like what's happening in Budapest, where all the objects come from, and also where can we found this like a way through Austria where you can find similar objects that were left by refugees in Wien and in St. Pölten and in Salzburg. So I think we just like dived in. We would have needed more time to do like a sufficient story that really works. I hope that the archive will put on that. And what we would also like to do is, of course, to think of a way how we can put these stories also in a functional, interactive storytelling tool or something like that. So that we did not have time to think about how we would like to present it on the website, and with which tool.
Yeah, and I guess what everybody of us learned was that a collection which at the first sign it seems kind of not so interesting material. I can be honest. I was just like, oh, another collection of things I already know. But when you stick to that, and when you learn how this online collection is working, how the connections are made, or if you want to find out how to beat the algorithm, So why do I get some objects like, and this could be interesting for you too, and I do not understand why they are in this connection. What is the connection between those two objects? We became really curious and kind of got lost in the collection. And that means that for 8 people, the collection was so interesting that we didn't stop researching about the objects when we get in contact with them. And this is just my plaidoyer for take your time and look at historical objects.
Thank you very much. The other ones have to add something. Johannes and Adriana, you're also part of the team.
Yeah, I can say it was really nice to have an interdisciplinary approach in this group. This is always a thing I really enjoy, to work with people from with a different background. And yeah, I learned quite a lot, and it was interesting work to do. And it would be nice to continue with this project and to think about what can be built out of these outcomes. Yeah.
So it was not only that the exhibition, it gets alive or stays alive and gets in contact with people and gets in relation to the people. It was also to not just to research on the surface, right? It was also going deeper and makes more interesting. Okay, thank you very much. The next group. Okay, maybe it could be Gesine and Chris.
Yes, we can continue.
Are you ready?
Gesine?
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Switch on your microphone and your video, please.
Yes.
That we can see
I
you.
will not share my video just because my internet connection is not the best, but I will share the presentation, and I hope all of this
also fine.
will
Thank
work.
you.
Yes. So can you see the presentation right now?
Wonderful. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So our team was working on the visualization of the location history of the Neptunbrunnen in Nuremberg. And maybe first something about us. We are Gesine Gumann and Chris Ortega. We are both digital humanities and sociology students at the Friedrich Alexander University Erlangen-Nuremberg. And I think the term best describing us is just two people curious learning new stuff. And that's also our main objective for this hackathon, just to have fun, to learn new things. And that's why we started doing this project. So our main idea was trying out different methods for geo-referenced visualizations for cultural heritage with the tool the tool NodeGoat. Because we both wanted to learn something about geo-referenced visualizations. We did not do that much before. And also NodeGoat is a very interesting tool. So we wanted to try this. And our key objectives were to have a political map where cultural artifacts and the pictures can be visualized with some further informations, and also where you can see the movement of the cultural object over the time, and also to have fun. Optional was also trying to map historical maps on the political map to get also this historical reference. But maybe we start with the two subjects of our project. First, the Neptunbrunnen. Why Neptunbrunnen? Maybe Gesine can also tell something.
We chose this fountain. Actually, we got the idea from Jacqueline, because she told us about the fountain and that it was very well documented, and that that would be an opportunity for us, that would be a good object we could use for our visualization. And so because we wanted to geovisualize something, and maybe something out in the open, something outside, because that's a place where we cannot go as much as usual at the moment. And this fountain, so actually it's two fountains, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. So this fountain is I think the biggest Baroque fountain north of the Alps, and it was planned as a symbol of peace and also to show the status of the city of Nuremberg after the 30-year war. But it got it didn't get put up after it was designed, because the city was actually pretty broke after the 30-year war, and it got built, I think, almost 100 years after. Oh no, 50 years. It was only 50 years after it was planned, but it never was put in place. And in 1797, it was sold to Russia, and there a copy was made, which then found its way back to Nuremberg. So a second fountain, and that fountain was put up at the Hauptmarkt in Nuremberg, so a central place, in 1902, where it was moved by the Nazis because they wanted more space for the Reichsparteitage, and also because the person who gave the money for the project of the actually like the fountain was Jewish, so they didn't want the fountain anymore. After that, it was also moved several times all over Nuremberg, and now it got separated. So like I don't know if the word, where the water is inside, that is stored away, and the figures, they are in a fountain in the Stadtpark at the moment. And we thought, because this fountain has a lot of movement in its history, that it would maybe be nice to show where it has been all over Nuremberg and all over the world, with the second fountain in Russia.
Yes, so like the perfect object for this little project, and also to test the methods we wanted to try. And now I go to the tool we used, NodeGoat. Why NodeGoat? NodeGoat is a web-based data management, network analysis, and visualization environment. So you can do a lot in one environment. And for visualizations, it's very nice if you want to have some interactive parts and also georeference. So we wanted to try it out. We had some experiences before with Gephi, also a visualization tool that has a few more options for visualization, but less for data management. So we thought it would be a nice idea to give NodeGoat a try. So you can do very fancy stuff with this. You can make fancy visualizations on maps, or also just social structures or something. I will show you some visualization pictures of our project later. You can also put some effort in doing the data modeling with NodeGoat. Actually, you have to do data modeling in NodeGoat because it does not support default data model. You have to create one for your objects, for your data. So we spent a lot of time creating a data model that works with the data we have. So the data model consists now of different types. This is the name of the nodes in NodeGoat that structure the data we have, with the cultural objects, the events around the cultural object, the persons, and the places where this object went. And I can show you an overview of our data model. It's very small now, but you can get a idea of what we did the last day or the last 2 days. we tried to structure the information around, like, the person has informations about birth and death, of course, some other informations. The place also has information about the name, but also always an external identifier, and also the cultural object has an external identification built in. And also there's always an external source attached where we wanted to attach the information, where we found the information. So this is the structure. If someone is interested a little bit more in the model itself, we can share the model. I didn't want to make this part as long because yeah, it's a little bit dry. So with the finished data model, we could start putting some informations in the model, also in Node-Code. This is an example for Nuremberg. We used the information from Wikidata and Wikipedia just to test the model, to have something to show. There's the possibility to add more informations or different sources. This is the input field, and this is like how it looks when it's ready to show in Node-Code. And yeah, now I can show you the amazing visualizations we have. So this is the fancy visualizations to remember you. This could be a visualization. So this is our visualization right now. It's a little bit smaller because we had a lot of time developing the data model. And well, maybe this looks a little bit more fancier. Those are the social connections we have right now with the two different kinds of fountains. There is the Neptunbrunnen from Nuremberg and the Neptunbrunnen from St. Petersburg, and also the different events. But also this visualization is not perfect. So what did we in those 2 days? We get to know the core features of Node-Code, what we can do with it, what a data model in Node-Code looks like. We also did learn something about the Neptunbrunnen and created the data model on Node-Code, and also tried to fill some data in this data model to see how it works. And also we had a lot of fun. We tried different things, and yeah. So what are the next steps? What do we want to do with this work we did? We want now use all the fancy visualization tools that Node-Code provides. We could not use them right now because we were invested in having a good data model, because I think that's very important to have a good data model first and then care about fancy visualization. And we want also more and better sources for the Neptunbrunnen and its history. We did not have the time, of course, to get very into detail with the Neptunbrunnen. And we want to continue to test the data model to find issues that makes us to make it better. And also, we also want to continue to have fun. Yeah, so this is the presentation. Thank you for the hackathon. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris and Gesine. You're just 2 people in one group, and you made, yeah, and I think an amazing achievement, because of course it needs a lot of time to fill in data. We all know that. And we all know that the hackathon is just to make the concept and to learn from each other and to collaborate. And you did that very well. And yes, so that's nothing to be ashamed of or something that is not complete. This is just about prototyping and yeah, anything else. And I'm sure you will get ahead because you're now really fond of Node-Code, as I've heard. So yes, it's very good to hear what you have done. And just one last question, maybe. Is it okay?
Yeah,
because
sure.
then we go ahead to the next group to finish. What does it really explore for the future? Because, you know, our calling question for the whole hackathon was we want to explore the future, the present challenges. Can
Well,
you
I think
connect?
one one of the main topics we had in the narration group when we were first in another group and then split up was also how we can do location-based narrations. How can we use space also to visualize cultural data? And I think it's very important to think about how we also can store data correctly to make those visualizations reusable, to to have something that is sustainable. And for this, Node-GOAT could be a solution. I don't think it's the only one, and yeah, but we wanted to try it. We wanted to try the method, and for future projects, it will be very useful, I think, to have a tool like Node-GOAT and georeferenced visualization as an option.
Cool, and your background is digital humanities, actually, isn't it?
Yes, both of our backgrounds is sociology and digital humanities.
Okay, so that's also good that you're experimenting with the technical things. Thank you very much. We go ahead. Okay, see you later. You're still here. We can go ahead with here, I guess. I've heard.
Yes. Yes.
Hello,
We
here.
can.
We hear you. Some
That's
of you.
great. That's great.
And I can see you as well. Where are the others? If you just raise your voice, then you come in the first screen automatically.
Hello.
It will be, I'll share a screen and Manuel and Florian will talk because Manuel had audio issues. So I'll do that. I think it will work, hopefully.
Here it's about listening and sound and not only. So tell us about.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's start. Welcome to Here, a playful auditory project to experience your cultural heritage. In this presentation, Clemens, Franziska, and Arne volunteered to play the prototype game and dedicated themselves to the experience. Next slide, please. In the next couple of minutes, you will experience a sonic world. You will hear soundscapes and sounds. Clemens, Franziska, Arne, please share your reaction when it's silent again, and tell me what the sound evoked in you and what you would like to do.
Yeah, that was sounded like a game, and I would like to play a game now.
All right, okay.
Other thoughts? This was I think this is like from Mario, Super Mario. This is the only game I ever played until the end.
All right. So what would you like to do, Franziska?
Look for my...
Run away.
No, run away. Jump and run.
All right. So, yeah, in this case, you jump right into the experience. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I think I will walk through a door. because a train is coming in, and the other one sounds like an elevator or something, and door to a shop.
What do you think, Franziska?
Oh, sorry.
Did I see enter the supermarket?
I was
but for me, I was like imagining my train ride to St. Pölten, and maybe first going by train, and then maybe going by bike to the FH. And then I thought, oh, I have not been in St. Pölten for a very long time.
All right. In this scenario, you would be led to a supermarket. So you basically entered the supermarket.
I started to smell the air condition of the railjet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Interesting thought, yes.
Yeah. And then it was somehow reminding me of Switzerland. I don't know why. Maybe the sounds are from Switzerland.
Maybe I need to stop that sound because it's too loud.
That all sounds like something to do with money. So I prepared to get money in my hand or give money away. If that makes
First,
sense.
it sounded a little bit like too less social distancing. And
Okay, yes.
after that, it was money in my bank account. Catching.
And you,
Yeah,
Franziska?
For me, I was in at the Kasse in the supermarket, and then I went to another shop, like an older one, like for, I don't know, like an old lady still have the old registration Kasse.
Okay.
And then the last one, I don't know. Could not
All right.
relate to that.
The last one is also the sound when you smash your head against a stone
in Super Mario.
Oh, yeah?
In Super Mario, so running through the wall first.
Yes, so our scenario takes us in the supermarket to the cash register, and you pay for something. You bought something.
Yeah, I'm buying food, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course, it's not only food, it's a Leberkässemmel.
Okay,
Yes.
yes.
And it all reminds me that I didn't went to the supermarket for a long time, and my fridge is pretty empty. But I hope I get something today.
All right. So in this case, the scenario leads to that you eat what you have bought.
Growing. It's yeah, but I think that's very dependent on when you had your childhood and what games you played.
All right.
Do you associate that with something?
The growing, my stomach going into all directions, not the right one.
What about you, Clemens?
I don't know. I think I feel confusion. Literally, yes.
Yeah, I'm also back in the Super Mario game.
All right. Okay. Okay. So in this case, you're still in the supermarket. We just didn't play the supermarket background so that you can hear the other sounds better. So basically suddenly grow twice your size, and it's obvious that you ate a mushroom. So
obvious.
So you grow. Next slide, please.
Oops. That's not work. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So at first it was a train ride into the middle of the earth. And then it was a teapot somehow. I don't know why. There was a teapot cooking the last meal. Then, yeah, 6 feet under.
Oh.
And also I died and I went up to heaven. I beamed myself up to heaven.
Okay, you beamed yourself up to heaven. Okay.
Yeah, the beaming sound was also my first impression. Like, but maybe if we stay at the mushroom, is like something was wrong with the mushroom, and I tried to go to the Krankenhaus, to the emergency room, but I didn't make it in time, and I'm also for sure dead.
Okay,
This
interesting
was my
perspective.
funeral.
Interesting perspective.
Was it any right?
So this beaming sound transported you back to the subway, and then you were led to the next scenario as a potential follow-up scene, which could be future work. But now I would like to have a short interview with you three on your experience. Like, did the sounds trigger certain reactions? I see you didn't always respond the same way. Could you explain why?
Well, I think it was about the context a lot also. It depended on the context for myself, what I thought about it. And I guess that Franziska, Arne, and I have different experiences, like with playing video games and stuff. So I think that's also why we got different reactions.
All right.
For me, I always tried to make like into a story, but it didn't work always because like the Super Mario references, they were so strong that I went back to the game straight away.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the same for me. The Super Mario stood out so strong that it took over. And the other sounds, I had some associations with them, but I didn't feel that they're connected so much because they're so different in the I don't know how to put that, but the making of the sounds, some are very realistic and some are very artificial, and that kind of took me out of a concurrent storyline.
All right. Yeah. So one question: if the sounds sounded like the actions themselves, like the words we after hearing the certain environment showed, did the small sounds sound like the expression that we then have written down?
I think that the Super Mario sounds are kind of working like emojis in the context of a normal text. Yeah.
I think some of the sounds you have to learn, you have to train yourself to hear them, like the jump sound. If you connect them with the action, then it's connected. Yes, the eating sound, for example, you just know.
Yeah, I think that the reference that you have in your head from playing these games would be probably different for another age group.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering why you were mixing these realistic sounds and then these very artificial sounds together.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Okay.
We will come to that.
Okay.
So the last question would be if the soundscapes created an image, and if so, what kind of image?
It was an everyday life image. So things I would do normally, maybe that I haven't done in the last few weeks, but it definitely pulled me to my train ride to St. Pölten, to my supermarket where I go like every second day, in very stark contrast, of course, to the game of Super Mario, which is like a little bit like a time travel because I haven't played it for a very long time. So it's kind of different time zones maybe also.
Yeah, the soundscapes were quite realistic and also got me into my everyday life. And then the game sounds, then it was like an overlay, like an interface between me and the world.
Yeah, I would say the same. That the real soundscapes are pretty much taking me into a situation where I experienced that sound, and the game sounds are just putting me right in front of a screen where I see the game figure jumping up and down.
Okay. Thank you for volunteering. We will now continue with the more theoretical part behind the experience, and I will hand it over to Florian.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so I will just briefly talk a little bit about what was actually the outset of why we did this little experiment. And of course, it was not like a polished product, but it was basically to show, okay, what different kind of sounds do we actually have to play with? How do you react to sounds differently? How do they trigger also different emotions, behavior, moods? And so it's really about raising awareness that sounds and soundscapes as well are an important part of digital heritage. And that's something not everybody is really aware of. So this awareness raising was one thing, and then also addressing different types of sounds. So we had, of course, the sounds from game culture that trigger immediately, if you know the game, certain things in your head and bring you back to the game. Or you have sounds from everyday life, and those really trigger also, well, bring you to certain places and immediately create images in your head. And these can be different depending on what your background is. But in any ways, these sounds can be used for storytelling and for exploring spaces. And that was basically one of our outsets. And so the goals of our project, and please the next slide, was really this awareness raising on the importance of sound and soundscapes, as well as listening. So it should be a pure listening experience. And we wanted to create something, an experience that is playful. So playfulness was also one of the main themes we were working with. And so we want to bring the people into a situation where they experience the sounds themselves, the importance of sounds as cultural heritage, but also with their own actions. So it should be really an experience where you can basically, well, it should be interactive in a way where you on the one hand hear and listen carefully, but also take decisions and move through a sonic space. And you have rely on your auditory perception. And so it could be, for example, a possible setting, a mobile game, something that is on your mobile phone, be it at home, be it in a public space where you use your mobile phone as a sort of device. It could be an installation, a sound installation. It could be something that is virtual, so virtual exploration of a space. That could take, for example, place on your computer, on your phone, but also on smart devices like your smart TV, like your Google Dots or any other smart speaker, where you can also interact with voice command. So it should basically be really purely auditory. It could also be a group experience, and there it could promote diversity. So because different generations have different associations when hearing certain sounds. And so it could really foster communication between the people as well. And different scenarios are thinkable. It could be purely fictional. It could be really be a sonic storytelling where you explore a totally fictional space, an artistic scenario or a narration. So we didn't have any narration aspect in there, but more of a sonic narration there. Of course, soundscapes can play an important role, but it could also be non-fictional. So really communicating intangible cultural heritage, historic events, historic spaces, making them explorable via sound or enriching an on-site experience through a sound experience. There, again, soundscapes, but also some kind of trigger sounds, be it as artificial as a game sound or different could be part in there and trigger actions. And so in the end, how did we implement the whole mechanics? So we used sound effects in this small example as a game mechanic. So the player realizes in a way, or should realize how what reactions, behavior, mood, or imaginations are triggered. And so basically, whenever you need to take a decision what to do, you could use these kind of trigger sounds to then help you decide, should I go on? Should I go through a door? Should I jump somewhere? What did I actually do right now? And so, as I said, we have signal sounds which attract attention, communicate meaning. We have sound marks that identify certain sites. So we had church bells, or later on that soundscape, you would have had something inside the church where you would be at mass and you would realize, okay, there's something going on. And then, of course, also background sounds where you can identify where you actually are or what is going on. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, we want to promote inclusive access, but also communication between generations and also new meaning and emotional connections for kind of a visiting experience that is not visual, but that is really also activating your other senses, activating listening. And so that is pretty much it. And these are we. So thanks a lot, Sylvia, again, for organizing the hackathon. Thanks a lot for giving us the opportunity to explore this topic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You were a quite self-organized group. It was really funny experience to listen to your sound installations or your sound examples. It was like a journey. And the one question was, do you think it could be also kind of control system to guide you through a museum, for example, or to guide you somewhere else, like it is used for blind people already? So connected to an art exhibition, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was one of our initial thoughts, like, okay, how can we actually make a place, or explore a place by sound, or form or frame an experience at a place or at an exhibition as well. And so here, yeah, especially like if you don't have the classical narration, okay, here you see this and that, but you rather form an experience and get the people to think for themselves or have certain, form own ideas about what they also see visually then in a space or on an artwork, and guide them also in terms of where to look at, what could a certain situation be, what could a certain artwork mean also maybe, but not just telling them, but rather make them engage for themselves.
Maybe one more remark regarding the question before, why we mixed those sounds, why we put in this very simple prototype, both, for instance, both the coin bling sound from Super Mario, which is like Mario's grabbing the coin, and also the old desk cashier sound. And for us, it was very interesting that both items are making the same bling. But and we associate, because we are living in a certain culture, because we grow up also with a certain pop culture from different perspectives, that we associate this bling with money, with paying. But of course, money doesn't make bling. So it's like it's very interesting to show the people, also to show people from different generations, or we wanted to use examples from different generations. And this would be an option to bring the generations together, that they maybe solve the puzzles together and talk about their sounds that they are important for their culture, for their cultural heritage as well.
I would like to go ahead to continue this dialogue or this discussion, because it's very interesting, but maybe we can do it next time, because we also hope that each project is going further and going to any other conference or so on. So let's continue for sure, but not now, because we have another group waiting. Thank you very much, because it was also very interesting how you presented this with this kind of interview with the 3 persons. Fun. So I think people stick to that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
See you later. Make your bottles ready for the party. But now we continue with everyday life in XR. Are you here?
Yes, we are here.
Yes.
Sorry,
go ahead.
So I'll share my screen real quick.
Yeah, thank you. Where are your team members, Juan?
Here. They are also here.
I'm here.
Cool.
All right. Do you see the screen with GlamHack TV?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we are the group of Everyday Life is XR, and our project is GlamHack TV, Experience Animals at Home. And we tackle the problem that documentaries are great, but not very interactive. And we know that interactive and playful learning supports younger generations in learning. And with GlamHack TV, we want parents, grandparents, and the youngsters to watch documentaries together and use an AR app at the same time. The project goals with GlamHack TV were to facilitate cross-generational and cross-media learning. The app enriches TV documentaries, by adding additional content, and also trigger the younger audience to join the TV program, and also encourages older viewers to experience new technologies like augmented reality. And by showing the facts in real situations, it helps children to memorize the facts of the documentary. And due to some gamification elements, the TV content is more appealing to the younger ones. And this concept of the app could be used for many different types of documentaries, but we chose the example of polar bears. And it can also be used in schools, for example, as a part of multimedia learning strategies, and also to get pupils to use technologies and learn how they can interact with them in a safe environment. And now Johannes is going to share his screen because he has the video of the prototype.
Okay, I just really hope that this is gonna work. Just give me a second. Okay, you should see a mostly black screen now. Can you also hear this
No.
Fine. I think it works. Huh?
I'm not sure if it works.
Okay, but we hear
I'll play it, but can you hear the audio?
No.
No.
Okay. Then I'll have to double check what's not working here. Give me a second.
So,
Actually, it
Johannes,
should-
you
yeah.
if you share in Zoom, you have to put a sign on that you want to give the computer sound.
But where is it? 'Cause-
Yeah, if you say screen sharing, okay,
Mhm.
then you can choose the window, and in the button left.
Oh, advanced.
No, in the button left of this window is computer audio. Give it free.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There it is. Okay. So now it should work. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Does this work now?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, let's go. That's it.
Okay, now Georg is going to share his screen to continue the presentation and about the workflow.
Exactly. So I just have to share the screen. Let me check. Okay, now we can see Alex. In a second, we can see. Hopefully, you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Awesome. We start here, and I want to try to explain now how we got the idea and how was the teamwork till this final movie and the final prototype we achieved. And first we did a brainstorming process where we clustered different topics we discovered, which we find interesting to deal with our initial questions. And after that, we voted in our group for our favorite item. And then we created a concept with a work schedule. And after that, a rough master flow, as you can see, was created after an intense session to ensure everyone has the same idea in mind. So we really had to get the idea to everybody so that we can really work together on one specific topic. Because at the first parts we had so many ideas, which were all of them were great and really interesting. And I'm very glad that it was just like a good workflow for us to do it. And yeah, after that we did a first visualization with a click test dummy, and before that, so we did a rough workflow and we used our master workflow to do this. Hopefully you can see it. In fact, it's exactly what they have seen in the video right now, that when the user starts the movie, he can mark, so he can use the marker to synchronize his phone and app with the movie. And by the way, then when the movie is starting, the app gets synchronized via audio, and so that the movie and the app are going the same direction. And when the movie is finished, of course, all the content can be used all the time. So it's not only available when the movie is running. It's exactly also possible later that he can share it with his friends or his dad in this, as we've seen in the video. And yeah, of course, when you can use the collection, when you want to try to get the elephant and the other animals, you can all put them together in like a zoo at home and can discover the animals in the life size in this living room. Yeah, the next practical steps we did was more like a work assignment, how to implement this in the app you have seen, and a video storyboard for the video you were also able to see yet. And this did quite good. Here you can see in a short window here that we had a lot of different steps in our Miro board. And I have to admit that our collaborative teamwork went very, very good. It was a pleasure to work with this wonderful team. We have a very nice atmosphere. And if you want, you can try the click test dummy. When you copy the link, we can put it in the chat, and I can show you how it works. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Not like this, it's over there.
But I'm not sure if everybody can see the chat.
The link is actually already in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Nikki posted it.
Here you can see the app. So you can go start in, you can scan the QR code, and then it goes connecting with the movie. And then it waits till the movie is starting. And as you have seen in the movie, then if the movie is not running yet, or if the movie just started, maybe there's no interactive item now. So it's waiting till the first item is the first event is triggering. And then as you've seen, you can play time, you can feed the bear. Yes, you can feed the bear. Now there's no element inside, but let's imagine that there was the bear to see. And then afterwards, you can do the quiz, as you have seen. Then you have to know that, how old the bears are being, and you discovered that by watching the movie, and you know after 30 months the bear is old enough to be on his own. And then you get some achievements like a cool item for your bear and your other zoo animals. And you can finish the quiz, and then you can see here that there are other animals in your zoo. You can scroll around. When you try to want to unlock the elephant, and you have to watch the movie. Especially, we would like if you're doing with his parents and grandparents to get the idea for a family reunion, and to share technology with the older ones. And if to go back, yeah, exactly. That's how it works. There's Johannes.
Yeah, anything else?
Yep. Just have to find out. There's the right window. Yeah, the next steps. We really would like to have a fully functional prototype. Our prototype now is not synchronized yet with the audio because it was too much work just for the short time we had. It would be nice to acquire partners for a product launch. So actually, we're thinking about this. And of course, we are looking forward to have a nice party after finishing today's hackathon with you. And So our presentation is finished. I just want to show you tools we used for reference. So Unity, Miro, Adobe XD, Discord for communications, video was by National Geographic and other stuff. And we also want to thank everybody who participated in the hackathon and for the other presentations we have seen now. There are many inspiring projects, and it was a very big pleasure for us to be part of this. So thank you all.
Thank you all for this words, and also for your kindness, and for your collaboration, and your project is one why this hackathon is a successful one. So thank you, and for sure we all try to find a partner for you, because it's really worth to do it. So I would continue. We have another project left, right? The untitled poster experience.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
I don't know how many people from my group are here. Actually, they had some problems joining the Zoom.
Marlene, wonderful. Hi, Marlene.
Yeah, hi.
Who else is with you? Just the two of you. That's also nice.
Florian had to go out with his dog because he was sitting inside for 3 days.
Okay, so go ahead, and we'll see if somebody else joins.
Let's see.
And Johannes,
what
please
happens.
close your video for a while, just until the party. Open it again then.
Okay, let's see. How do I do this? Share screen. And now I share this one. And now you should see a very colorful
Yes.
screen.
Rainbow.
Very good. Okay. For our presentation, I want to take you on basically the journey that we all as a group made during the last few days in our team. And it all started on the first day after this long process of finding the group with a lot of question marks, and not a lot of questions, but a lot of question marks that stayed in our head after the group finding. And we are sitting together in the room in our discourse, and we were chatting. What is the question that we want to ask? Because what do we want to do in these days? Because there was no objective at first. And we experienced that no borders mean that there are too many possibilities, and we ran in a lot of different directions at first to find somehow the essence of the group. A few of us wanted to do game development and environmental stuff. Some of us, mainly me, was interested in augmented reality. Others were had a lot of interest in data, and so we ran in a lot of different directions. And in the end, all the questions led to a questionnaire, and that was funnily it ended up in the cemetery and with Freud. That was our first night, and our conclusion. What we want to do is a virtual reality experience on a cemetery where Freud gets buried, and we hear a lot of voices and obituaries, and that was basically when we went to sleep at the first day. And with a new day, there came a lot of new information, and with all these new information, there was a new project, and we found out the great data of the Wien Bibliothek that has all these posters, and that was somehow a new silver lining at the horizon for us. And we thought that's very interesting, and the posters are great, and it's the best way and the best base of a really cool project that we want to do. And it was actually quite a simple idea. We take the base of the posters and bring them into our world, because what is now it's broken, yeah. And we went on to do the poster experience, or post R experience, because everybody has an R in it now. And the question behind it was, how can we connect and engage with our cultural heritage in times of social distancing? Because we are all experiencing that now that we are at home, and some of us are alone. And to make the world a little bit more colorful, why not take all these images that are in the database there and bring them into a real space? And I mean, the website is there. You can browse through all the pictures on the website already, and I didn't even know that it's there. And so we thought that maybe a mobile experience and augmented reality experience could be a way to bring more engagement to the party, and trigger somehow a deeper engagement with the posters that are there, and with the content that lies hidden on a web server. And so the idea was at first a little bit the same than the first group had, that we bring the posters inside the room, and you can make your own curation and kind of choose pictures for you. But it changed because there are over 100,000 or over 10,000, I don't know. There a lot of pictures a lot of posters are online on the server. And we experienced that at first, that too many options are leading to nowhere. So we thought, okay, why not pull out of all these databases? Why not pull out a random frame that you get presented, and then from there you can start your journey through the archives and through the information that is there. So we started with the random one, and that was this one. And then we thought that would be great to just have that floating in front of you, so you can look at it and inspect it and see the details of it. Maybe you want to know who was the artist that made it. That could be information that pops up over the frame, or maybe the year would be a thing that would be interesting. What kind of period that poster is from. And in that case of this poster, I mean, James Dean, come on, I want to know who is the actor, and maybe I can dive into all the possible other posters and information that's on the server and go from there. So I take James Dean as an actor, and I get presented with other options, and these options can basically then push the old poster away, and I have a new poster that I can experience. So it's a one poster at a time experience that we wanted to do. And we thought should be pretty easy, right? So the first thing was very fast. We started Unity, to use Unity as a base for us. And in there, it's possible to connect to the real world on your mobile phone. It finds the planes on inside the room, and we had some kind of first positive experience that we can reference the real world with the objects, and then we started to go into the database from Wien, which is a Mark XML that inherited all the information, and we thought, okay, great, there are the links to the posters. We just get the information out of the database and put it on that little cube you saw in the middle of the room. But then it started with the XML. Came the problem that Unity is not importing XML from the base, and then from there it went on, and more problems popped out and more problems popped out, and we had really no idea how to solve them, starting from losing the space in the app, how to program, because some of us are on iOS and some of us in Android, and we couldn't test it, and it was a nightmare. And most of the nightmare was the XML. So we had all these great data in front of us, but we couldn't get it into our program. And that was basically end of day 2. That was more or less the early morning of day 3, and a lot of big questions there, and nothing works. And that was really frustrating at the end of day 2. But during the night, we had a little help from a friend that came from Sylvia, Christian. He fixed us a kind of translator tool that brought all the data into a data format that we can read in our program. So it started with this in the morning today, and we were super happy because with the JSON we get all the data in, and we can start with the UI design, and also with some small little drawbacks and fun things that the posters were running behind us in our ER app, because they don't want to stay there where they have been. And suddenly, what? It's 2 p.m. and we have no product and no presentation and no nothing. So we split up, and some of us tried to program a little bit more and fix up the app. And I did the presentation, and yeah, in the end, we had a lot of last-minute problems with the Unity coding that was problematic. But I think we are on a good track to manage what will be next. And one of the things we have to tackle is that actually no one of us can test the tool we are programming, because iOS is very restrictive with the testing environment, and all the others didn't have an Android that was capable enough of doing it. And another funny thing that we encountered was that we have all the data in the JSON stored inside the program, but we retrieved the image data from the server, and we had too many database requests and were blocked. So we couldn't test our app in the end because we didn't get the images anymore. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, but we are on a good track. I have a last video from right now that I could implement. We have still the plane detection, and you saw a white frame there. That was the poster without the poster on it. And there we have a new poster. We have just a way of retrieving a new poster right now. So we tried it out, and it's a little bit too low, but these are small things that we can fix very easily, I guess, when the programmers go to sleep once and can think straight once more. So what comes next? I think that we will try to fix up the prototype so we can send that around, or I don't know how that works, because I'm not really into the programming department. That's all new for me. And then testing on iOS and Android. And yesterday during the process there was a small extension idea to the one poster at a time approach, is that maybe we could present the poster in a kind of split up way, and bring the audience in to kind of fix up the poster in the end. So they have to figure out how it fits together. And once they finish it, they get all the additional information. But that's like I learned during the last few days, is that this should work or this sounds easy is never right. It's always more complicated and always way harder to achieve than thought.
Okay, Marlene, do you want to add something, or Tamara?
Yeah,
Just a
thank you
quick
for.
sentence, something we are out of time, but doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, just wanted to say thank you for telling our story. Yeah, it was a great adventure, I would say, and we all came to learn something new, and I think we did. And I think we did great. And yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah,
hey guys, that was really amazing what you did. Oh.
Yeah,
we tried, and I think the best part is the part where we actually hacked the server. So we really got lucky. We really hacked something. So I'm really proud to say that, and I'm satisfied.
Yes, you're really great, because you achieved so much. You learned so much for yourself.
Yeah,
because you challenged yourself so much.
Yes,
all of you, and also you made this experience that you can grab some help from the network, because when you face this problem, and Arne told me, we need somebody with programming, and I found this, you called him the help from a little friend.
A little help from a friend, not a little friend. Yeah, he saved us.
He saved you, and he's one of the Open GAN network, and usually part of the hackathon. Just too busy this time. But so that's how the network works. So you are the best example for what's happening, and you're not the only one who failed in a way. Yeah? So there have been projects before of others, of also programmers, they failed and then they started again. So this is what has happened, and that's how a process is going on. So even now with this virtual conversation only, it's maybe even more harder, I don't know, even for the groups. So it was also a different experience also for me for hosting it. But yes, but you ask for help and you got help, and just the time run out doesn't matter, but you have an offer. So the one responsible for the posters on the library, she already wrote in the chat, please connect me with the people. If they want to continue, I would love to. So you can continue. You have already the offer from the library. So there's nothing happened. So really, so you achieved something as well. So
I would say it was a real a positive experience in the end. It was great communication with all of the guys in the group. Everybody did its best. I tried to confuse everyone every now and then, and also saw Unity the first time, and all these coding environments and stuff. So it was it was a great start for, I think, a very cool project. And yeah, I mean, the time is super tight. So
go ahead, but I just say now thank you. And projects need the community to stay alive. So stay connected to the community as you have already done this experience, how helpful this can be. And also to the others, this is for every project. Thank you for participating and doing this great job, because what we have done, we have achieved, and there are 6 projects really worth to show to the public. And yes, I also try to help that some more steps can happen. So just stay in contact, stay connected, and the next hackathon is coming for sure. We don't know yet, but stay connected, you get the information, and we'll have another hackathon whenever, wherever, and however, we must say now, because maybe it's then to meet again in a physical way, but we don't know yet. So thank you all. This was the hackathon, and we say goodbye to YouTube, but we are coming back for the last keynote of Peter Bell and Jacqueline Klusig-Eckert. Yes, and the closing session with Franziska and Thomas. Bye.